Yo, what's up everyone? This is Alan Pears, aka Corn Lucky, and today I'm bringing you a tutorial on Jann, a character in Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate. Just to go over some of his pokes, he has a 10 frame high, 12 frame mid, 13 frame low jab that puts him at neutral, and he can follow up with his 10 frame high or 12 frame mid there. Although he's great at spacing and zoning players away from him, he can also be played extremely close, or at a close range I should say, but that depends on the character that he's fighting against. If he's playing against a really quick character that's faster than him, you really don't want to keep him in their faces too much, just because he really doesn't have anything that's going to counter poke them. But any character that's at his speed or slower, he's a monster being played in a close range, just because he's not all that slow, but his damage output, as far as once he starts landing counter blows, and he doesn't have to play in the stun game all that much to deal big damage. So when you're playing around with them, you want to, just be cautious or aware of the type of character that you're playing against, and knowing who you can keep him in front of consistently, and the characters that you kind of want to play out here against and outspace or zone them. And some of the attacks that he has his 7k, his 66k, his 6k, and you can also follow up with 46k right back behind it. He has his 9k. As far as if players are, that tool there is used for mostly in a mid-range game when players are whiffing stuff and they don't know they're too close to him. This is being a normal hit launcher. They're going up, and you can do a little juggle from that. It's one of his power punches. It's high and it tracks, and he also has his 7p, which is evasive as well, because he jabs back, and as you see, that stuns on normal hit, and on block it puts him at +1. So his keep out game is fairly strong, because of most of his stuff knocks people back or away from him, or it launches them, or it starts a counter hit to where he can actually hit you like 2 more times and do big damage. He also has 4p, which starts his 5-in-1, and what a 5-in-1 in DOA is attacks that if the initial hit touches you, you can't hold in between it, and you have to take what he's doing after it. So all of those attacks right there were guaranteed. There's nothing that any player can do about it. And there's something you can also do with his mix-up game, but I'll talk about that later. So that's Jann, pretty much spacing and zoning, and when you can play him up close. Jann in the mix-up game is not all that great, but at the same time it's good for him because of the purpose that it serves, which allows him to get in quickly and then get out, so he can continue to outzone players once he does land a counter strike. So messed that up. Yeah, so that's one of the things that you can do as far as getting in and then getting out, a few quick strikes, and then propelling someone across the stage and then forcing them to get back in on you. But since he's such a monster at the neutral game, they're gonna have to fight tooth and nail just to get in on you, and they better hope they do it smart, because if they get counter blown and you knock them back away from you, it starts all over again as far as getting in back on them. So as you can see there, his mix-up game, although it's not that great, it serves its purpose, because you should be seldomly mixing up with him, so you can kind of, in a sense, almost be a little repetitive with him. And because players have to worry about everything else, once they're so exhausted and they actually get in on him, they'll be so into the mindset of, okay, I need to do my dirt, and they won't be really paying attention to you, because this is very, very frustrating trying to rush in and get in on him, especially if you're zoning and keeping people off of you correctly. You can go stun launch with Jann, but he's not all that good with it. And the two moves that you can kind of stun launch with are his 7K and his 9K, and that's about it. His 33P can launch, but with it being at 25 frames, he really doesn't have too many stunning attacks to where he can combo that into. One of them that I'll show is his 3P. There it puts him at plus 28, so you can fluently combo into that. And as you see at the top left hand corner of my screen, it comboed into it when I launched 2-hit. Anything else, it's not gonna do it, just because the advantage isn't big enough. As you see, those 2 hits that I tried to combo into, it didn't flash on the screen, which means players can slow escape out of that and then block it. So, and then he also has his natural combo here, and even still stunning and then going into that is not all that great, because it's not going to combo into anything. So although his stun launch game, he can put the damage on the screen, he doesn't have too many launchers that he can fluently stun launch with. So with just these two moves, stun launching, you're not gonna, a real mix-up really can't be applied in between it. Yeah, 73 points of damage for stun launching. That's not bad, but as far as him stun launching, that's what you're gonna be cycling through, doing 9K or 7K. So as far as his mix-up game goes, as far as what I showed you outside him stun launching, that's what you would want to do with Jann. And that's about it for his mix-up game. Jann is pretty much a straightforward character, and there's no big secret to him. By him being so straightforward, it actually makes him fairly solid, because there isn't a lot of work that you need to do to make him a solid character. And that's about it as far as his mix-up game. Jann defense is not the greatest, and that's usually when he has to play against characters that are faster than him. If they manage to get through his zoning and they're actually being applied on his block and they're being applied correctly, he really doesn't have anything to get them off of him, although he does have a 12 frame mid and a 10 frame jab. Most of the better rushdown characters, or the faster rushdown characters I should say, with them having 10 frame jabs, with them having 9 frame jabs and 11 frame mids and 12 frame low jabs, or 11 frame kicks, it's really hard for him to actually put this stuff in between what they're doing. So on block, you pretty much have to wait for you to get a big enough opening to actually start counter poking them, and then or either sidestepping to start your offense. This right here actually, to go back onto his mix-up game a little bit, is his dragon stance that he can go into, and he has a few options coming out of that. He has a 9 frame jab, 11 frame kick, and that's something new that he has, is 6 punch plus kick. That there is also a natural combo. Only the first punch can be held. If it's not held, all the other punches are guaranteed and you're gonna get slapped by them. I'm sorry I missed that, actually going over what he can do as far as mixing things up, is that he does have his dragon stance. It's pretty good for what he can do out of it, because as you saw, he got just a little faster when he went into it. And something else as far as his mix-up game that I also forgot to mention, I'm sorry about that again, is his throws don't do too much damage. So I'm going to take the training dummy to high counter, because this is the damage that you're going to do when players hold. His most damaging throw here It's a 17 frame throw, and it's a chain throw, which means you're going to have to get your just frame timing down so that throw can't be broken. It does 90 points of damage, and on an explosive or breakable floor, that damage is going to go up 95 points to maybe 100 points of damage. And since all of the stages aren't like that, him getting really big damage from it is going to be pretty hard if you're just dealing with a solid surface that's not gonna break. His 12 frame throw that pretty much all the characters have that's pretty damaging, doesn't really do too much. Does 84 points of damage that he's getting off of a 12 frame throw. So although it's guaranteed damage, and if you can punish a whiffed hole with it, go right ahead, but you're better off using his strikes and his quickness that he does have to get damage from either launching someone or putting them in a situation to where they can be critical bursted. His 17 frame throw, because it is 17 frames, you pretty much have to bait holds to actually punish them with it, because the throw is so slow. So it's not like a player can hold abruptly and then you could get this to come out and then throw them for it. You actually have to hit them, wait for them to hold, and then go ahead and do it. And that's mixing up his throws into his mix-up game. Again, they're not all that bad, because once he goes into it, it's a guaranteed 84 points of damage that you are going to get, or a guaranteed 90 points of damage that you are going to get. So they are good for that, at the very least. But at the same time, he can get way more damage just from quickly striking, knocking players away from them in the environment, and going back to outzoning them. Picking up Jann is fairly easy. He's not really a difficult character to use because he's so straightforward. What could really help out a beginning player is that if you have a pretty decent background as far as playing with a spacing or zoning character, and or if your fundamentals in a fighting game are fairly decent, you picking him up and just zoning with him, like half your work is already done. The other half pretty much comes into knowing what to do once you have a player stunned and how to go about moving around it. He does make a good use of a limbo stun and a sit down stun. So in stun, if you're playing against players and you have them stunned and they low hold, if you hit them with his freeing kick, it sets up a guaranteed critical burst. So once you nail them with it for low holding, you step up a little bit and you get a guaranteed critical burst every time. So holding wildly against him really is not a wise idea. So yeah, playing with this straightforward character here, you're gonna be fine once you learn how to zone and space well, and pretty much knowing how to move around and what you should do when you stun characters. So, and that's not all that hard to do. Like I said, it's fairly easy to do this stuff with Jann, and that pretty much sums him up. His pros and cons would be he's great at spacing or zoning. He's a really big headache, especially if he has the life lead and you have to fight tooth and nail to get in on him. His mix-up game, as I mentioned before, is not all that great, but it's a pro because it serves its purpose for what he needs it for. And he's an environmentalist. Pretty much any time when he's done with the juggle, he's launching you across the stage. This is the dojo stage. There's nothing for a character to fly into, but in the real game, in the real stages, most of his stuff is going to propel the opponent into something where he's going to pick up more damage on his already high damage output. Some of his cons would be he can't stun launch all that well, so you do have to play in the stun game just a tad bit. His throw game is fairly weak, although it will net you your guaranteed damage. Like I said, you have to set players up to get thrown by that. And then his 12 frame throw really doesn't put too much damage out there, but it is guaranteed damage. But overall, his throw game isn't all that solid. even with him having Dragon Gunner in his arsenal. And he lacks counter pokes as far as getting faster characters off of him, which really puts a lot of emphasis on him outzoning and outspacing them and not allowing them to get onto his block too much. And that's it. Again, thank you all for watching and listening to me talk about the characters in Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate. I'm down for any feedback as far as on my videos go. I'll make them better and better as best to my abilities. And you guys have a good night.